Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke. But I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
I just asked Beth off air, and I want to ask her on air if she has a relationship with the sister that bore witness to what she experienced. And you said complicated on the men's.
Way complicated. Yeah, I mean, when it all came out, it was really challenging for me. I felt like she told my story and it became her story. It was like she told people, she was telling friends and clients about what she was remembering without having the sensitivity to understand that it was my story. So I hadn't told my husband about that. So I had to tell my husband. It was just messy. We were also partners in business. She wanted out of the business partnership. My husband was waiting for a liver transplant. It was a very dark time in my life. And she just walked away from my life.
I'm so sorry.
Wouldn't engage with me on any level. So that was really hard. I would try every couple of years to reach out to her and see if she would have coffee with me or something just to check in, and she wouldn't. And then about probably 4 years ago or so, she reached out and wanted to do sister Zooms together. And so we've been doing that like every month, every other month or something. And so I would say things are in a much better place than they were for the, 20 years before. So that feels good.
But you don't talk about it.
No, I think that no, we don't really like talk about it. I feel like we've moved past that in a lot of ways. I think we've all done our own healing stuff around it. And, it's never going to be the kind of relationship that I like to have with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's better than it was. So I feel like at least we didn't have to totally disconnect or be estranged or any of that. We found a way to at least maintain some level of connection.
Can I keep it difficult? Because I have...
Yeah, I'm fine with difficult.
You interest me on many levels. Your humor interests me. I don't know how you did not totally dissociate from that kind of abuse. And can you share with our listeners how you know it started at 3?
I have memories of it happening at 3. I remember the room. I remember, I just remember the smells, the sounds.
So you didn't leave your body?
There were definitely times when I did leave my body, for sure, but I remember a lot of it. I think a lot of it is because it happened so many times, It wasn't a one-off.
Oh, I got it. Why did you, Did he have to keep you quiet? Was there any covert element to being able to pull that off?
Oh yeah, he threatened me. He, said, "Don't tell, nobody's going to believe you."
Do you have any recollection of your sister witnessing?
No. No.
So the abuse stops, 9 years old. You think it's something to do with the adoption of your brother?
Possibly. I don't know. That's just a theory I've cooked up.
I got it. And then you said to me when we spoke, you started to act out when you were 15.
Yeah, I was pretty naughty. Probably started acting out before then, but...
What were you up to?
But I also just want to go back a little bit to this because it wasn't just the sexual abuse that was happening in my house. It was physical abuse. We all suffered physical abuse. We all suffered emotional abuse from both of our parents. So the sexual abuse was really the tip of the iceberg.
I got you. Well, I am interested in the covert aspect of things because you, I find, different in that your awareness of the covert aspects is well beyond many people that I've known and speak to. They get caught up in the physical and sexual and never get to the covert elements, which is great. I'm glad people heal and they get beyond and do what they need to do or whatever. But the covert aspects, especially, they linger. I mean, I just, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but but
the gaslighting was horrible.
Yes, this is like how the fungu did you address that aspect?
Well, I didn't address it until therapy many years later with my, to unravel all that stuff. Just neither one of my parents has ever taken responsibility for anything.
I guess any kind of abuse.
Yeah. My father made amends, but he just was like, "I'm sorry that I was an alcoholic," I was like, "Did you ever think about what our life was like when you were drinking?" But he couldn't bring himself there. There was a lot of belittling, minimization of things.
How old were you when you faced it in therapy?
Well, we had family therapy under the guise of that my brother was a problem. So when I was 20 or something, we had family therapy. But then on my own individually, I was probably 24 or something when I started doing therapy.
How do you think you knew to do it so young? And you were married.
Yeah, because it was affecting my life in big ways,
I hear you. I want to hear. My questions have. I'm asking so I learn.
Yeah, it affected my life in a lot of ways. I was in a lot of pain. I was, from the time I was probably 12, I remember drinking way too much beer at a family reunion secretly. And I started drinking, I started smoking pot. I was out of control. I was self-medicating all the stuff.
You had said that your husband didn't find out until your sister shared with him or shared with you and you shared with him. So the two of you had insight that you wanted better lives for yourselves and your daughter, But when you started therapy, he still didn't know the extent of what had happened.
Oh, yeah, no. He didn't know that until the end of his life.
Yeah, wow.
Because there was so much other stuff besides the sexual abuse was a tiny piece of what was happening in my house.
I get it, but I'm just intrigued by that, your ability to compartmentalize and take on in bits and chunks, and just it speaks to how long this shit takes to unravel.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say, yeah, it takes a long time to unravel all that stuff. But it was part of my healing journey. I started my healing journey like when I guess I started my healing journey when I was 15. I started meditation. I met people that were really into self-awareness and things like that. So I had people that were introducing me to things that were really healing.
Thank God. Thank
Yeah.
God. I just thank God. Are you familiar with CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder?
A little.
So
Tell me about it.
Oh God, my nipples just got hard.
Oh, baby.
I in a nutshell, it's post-traumatic stress disorder, but the complex means ongoing, continuous, childhood into adulthood in some cases, but just ongoing trauma. I got diagnosed 2014-15 and did 10 years of concerted work, I would say. And now I still have it, and it's relevant because of my life. I was abused by my siblings, and then in my marriage, I basically married my siblings. I mean, it's what you do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, honestly, I mean, you could sell me the Brooklyn Bridge. The sky wasn't blue, the grass wasn't green. People along the way tried to help. I recognize now, and did help, but it was ultimately about 20 years ago where my oldest son, at 6 or 7, was pointing it out to me, and I genuinely feel his soul was sent to snap me out of it. And for some reason, coming out of a child telling me, I was able to recognize, probably because I trusted him.
Right.
So yeah, I just extreme psychological. I compare it to being catfished in life by your own family, scapegoated. Just the narratives about me get to the point where I don't know how I've survived it. I do know because, similar to yourself, later in life, I took the bull by the horns, but I didn't separate from my siblings. After I got the diagnosis, I was probably still blaming it on my marital choice. And I don't mean literally on him, but I associated CPTSD with my marriage. And I was so happy to tell my siblings that, hey, this is CPTSD, the very people.
Wow.
So that's how fucked up it was. And so finally, I separated from my siblings, and then I started to face what I had tolerated in my marriage 10 years after I was out of it. And
wow.
Let me tell you, It's what I tolerated: humiliating, shameful, embarrassing, ridiculous, comical, all of it. And I'm writing about it. You know that. Laugh So I Don't Die, to get it out of me so I can get beyond it, because I don't want to be talking about it 5 years from now. But I do need it out of me, and I do need it out of me in a written way because of those narratives. What I've heard, seen, just, these huge efforts to bring me down. And you know me, I don't step down easy. But that was part of the problem. That's kind of what made it tantalizing. And I find a lot of covertly abused people, men and women, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up.
Yeah, because what's the alternative?
What's the alternative? And I was terribly dissociated, terrible cognitive dissonance, terrible confabulation. I had to learn it all. And I talk to somebody now. We talk about twice a month, and I don't need the cognitive side of things. I kind of get it. But she finally said to me what I've been saying for years, that they weren't going to be happy until they took my sons. And that's where I'm not estranged from my sons, but the relationship relationships are very, very challenging. And I have to deal with what I repeated and didn't know. Although it's not a situation where the bad exceeded the good far exceeded the bad. I know that, but the bad was I stayed and I did things that it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I don't know how else to put it. So there's your answer. That's CPTSD.
Yeah, so I've never been diagnosed with it, but I'm sure I have it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the reason I took so long to try to explain that and explain what happened to me, because it was so largely covert. The only time it became, my family was a little more overt, so I went from overt to covert, which, I was gonna ask you, and I know I'm springing this on you on a podcast, but I was going to ask you if you went from more overt situations to more covert, like if you had to learn your lesson progressively from it being physical, sexual to more psychological in nature when you were still trying to figure stuff out. Because it took me 50 fucking 4 years to finally get it. And that was only tied to my mother dying because of what I was trying to sustain where the family was concerned, which was just horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the sexual abuse was the last piece that I really dealt with.
Wow. Okay. So you went right after, you knew enough to get your head straight.
Yeah, I felt so soupy all the time around my family. I was just like, what the hell? Like, my reality and what they're talking about and what they're presenting is so different. Like, what the hell? What the hell is wrong with me? Like, that's just not matching up,
See, that I am envious of, because I was so, it was normalized to me. I'm just, wow.
Well, and I think that's one of the things for me, like in terms of the dynamics of our family, where my sisters were the good ones and my brother and I were the bad ones. I feel in some ways I recognized really early on that what was happening wasn't so cool because of the sexual abuse.
Because of the overt. Yep. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
So for me, it was like, what the fuck? So I didn't identify with them. Whereas my sisters, I think, identified with my parents.
Got it. You just described what happened to me.
Yeah, my parents are well, I don't know if my father is a narcissist, but my mother is definitely a narcissist. So, they were getting all the strokes from my mom. I wasn't getting any of them. I definitely was not. But I had a stronger sense of self, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I sometimes take issue with I always had stupid self-confidence. Like I think that made me a target, but I often take issue when they say victims have low self-worth and low self-esteem. I'm like, I didn't even have an opportunity
Right.
to have that. And I am very, very committed to outing covert abuse just because of the lack of evidence, because of the narratives. My sons, one in particular, asked me to heal, and I ironically I was definitely on the CPTSD healing journey, but in healing, I had to step away from my ex, my in-laws, my family, so everything pointed to me as being the problem because
Right.
there was 65 people willing to say that I was.
Exactly.
And that's what I am passionate about, helping people crawl out of. But I don't want to be a therapist. I don't want to. I want to use humor.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Because really, humor is just a holy shift.
My ex-husband, from what I understand, has a heart condition and he has issues with erection. Poor son of a bitch can't take Viagra. Stuff like that. When I tell extreme trauma jokes, my experience has been, because they're true, some people laugh and some people go, whoa, like
too far.
Yeah. And it's like I do it. I've learned, and I haven't done enough of it to know that I don't even know if I'm going to get to the point where I want to do more of it, because I really am a writer at heart. So I'm trying to write about it. I think the thing about doing comedy in person is you can take the blow out of it, but the writing is where the relief is. The comedy's not relieving it, because it's not like the writing's more like a love letter to myself, where it's out there once and I don't have to tell the joke 400 times.
Yeah, that's cool.
When did you realize you had this? Has your sense of humor been pretty much your whole life?
Yeah. Yeah.
And always very sexual in nature? Because yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm sure it stems from my abuse.
I know.
It's the plus side.
I agree.
Hypersexuality.
Yeah, I've tried to talk about sex with people, and they're like, go away. Like, no, it's not the same plane. We're not in the same dimension. Yeah, I think it's definitely is how it manifested in me. And I make the joke, but I'm very serious. Is when I lost my virginity, I was like, I had a hymen. I was like, well, they didn't fuck me, but what the fuck happened? And these are people who went through their own abuse. I always say that, there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on. You don't do what you did to me if you weren't going through whatever yourself.
Right.
And I still have empathy. The peanut gallery, which is, as I said, quite large. The peanut gallery, the narrative is that I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. And I'm like, no, I don't. I hate what you did.
Right.
But I don't hate you. I just don't want anything to do with you. And like you said, if they would admit, like I had to say to my sons, because my sons, I've floated things by my sons, and I don't want to say who I've floated what by, but I floated by one of my sons once. Would it be different if I had bruises? And his message was, get over it. And I was like, wow, you don't even know that I am still processing it. Like I had a memory yesterday that I hadn't thought about in years. Because when the good comes back, the bad comes back, right?
Right. Yeah, of course.
Well, I didn't have your experience, and I would I can't even imagine your experience. Let me just say that. I consider mine a 10 when it comes to emotional and psychological. But I know from there's 50, 60, 572, you know what I mean? Because I know how much damage was done to my brain.
Well, I don't know that you can compare trauma like that.
I'm not. That's why I say it that way. Because that makes me how do I want to say this? I know how fucked up my I don't mean I'm fucked up. I find myself very sane, but the residual effect on my brain that I still experience, the dissociation, I misspeak, I have some real issues with my brain that are from long-term dissociation.
Right.
And so that's why I give myself a 10 on the emotional psychological scale, because that makes me like have compassion for myself because of what I've been through.
And that's so important.
Well, and I'm also, uncorking sociopathic and psychopathic abuse. I wish these folks were narcissists. And you can make fun of it. I mean, it's you can make fun of it if people are willing to understand, that it's there's just some types of things that aren't redeemable, and the person gets to decide what's redeemable. And that's right. That's one thing I said to my sons. I said, well, I hope they apologize to you, because I ain't getting one. And I don't expect, I don't need that to happen either. But it's like the only way I can, it's like a poem or a joke. It's my one-liner. I hope they apologize to you because, yeah. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry for you too.
Hey, it's putting, it's why this podcast is doing me.
Exactly.
It's not like I ever needed this to happen, but what the fuck? It's, if I can help other people, it's a calling. Spare grief, insight, joy came to me. I had a Kundalini awakening. You must know what Kundalini is.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I had a Kundalini, March 28th, 2022. So that was the beginning of the real wake up. And it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, it was fucking weird. But it was pretty necessary. I don't know how else to put it.
That's why it happened.
Yeah, I needed something, man. I needed something.
You were ready.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'll share with you. We're coming to the end of our second episode. That I've only recently learned that the oh shit. When I told you, I was just going to refer something that I thought I told you on air. I didn't. Fuck it. Let's end this, and we'll go into 3, and we'll tell some jokes.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.